everyone, and welcome to Stories and Scribes. My name is J to the A to the D to the E J8, and I'm so excited to be here. How are you today? What's been going on with you? My week has been good. My day has been amazing because I'm doing this already. Um, what's going on? Like, seriously, have you subscribed? You're looking at me, you're watching me. I know I'm beautiful, Have you subscribed? Have you liked any of the videos? Left a comment, your notification bell so that when this video drops, you are notified. If you have done all of this and more, thank you. God bless you. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite authors, and the book I'm discussing today had me in tears, had me in, I don't know how to explain it, just had me in different ways. And I just want to share a bit of it because I know that I can't fully exhaust all of the book in this video. But I'm just going to share bits and pieces of the things that touched me by this author. And she's one of my favorite author. The book I am reviewing today is Land of Silence by Tessa Afshar. Now, let me just read synopsis because I discovered that when I get so excited, I forget to do certain things, which, should be a prelude to the things we start to discuss. So, Land of Silence, before Christ called her daughter, before she stole healing by touching the hem of his garment, Elianna is a young child crushed by guilt. After her only brother is killed while in her care, Elianna tries to earn forgiveness by working for her father's textile trade and caring for her family. When another tragedy places Elianna in sole charge of the business, her talent for design brings enormous success, but never the absolution she was longing for. As her world unravels, she breaks up her betrothal to the only man she will ever love. Illness strikes, isolating Elianna from everyone, stripping everything she has left. No physician can cure her, no end is in sight, until she hears the whisper of a man whose mere touch can heal. After so many years of suffering and disappointment, is it possible that one man could redeem the wounds of body and soul? Okay, so this book is, from what I've read, you know that it is the woman with the issue of blood. And I loved how Tessa took the story and how she wove it, because many a times when we read Bible stories, it's almost as if it's far-fetched, like we can't really get it or understand it. But let me just bring it home in a little way, a little closer to home. It's just like a woman on her period for 12 years, month after month for 12 years. And hers was even worse. You know why? Because it was continuous. So it's not like, you know how it is that we are, for women, when we're on our monthly cycles, you have it for a few days during the month and you wait for the next cycle for next month. Hers was every day for 12 years. Please, can we just pause and just think about it? Every day for 12 years. Every day for 12 years. Like, every day for 12. Like, even reading the story and trying to understand it, I could not fathom it because it is a lot of pain, a lot of work, and a lot of health issues, because you'll be anemic all of a sudden because you're losing blood. And I'm sure you're losing blood faster than you're even trying to gain it, or you're trying to replenish it in your body. So to imagine that kind of thing happening to a person for 12 years. And you can just imagine that it's going to affect your relationship with your friends. Is she going to get married? Because the Bible did not talk about a husband, did not talk about anything, just talk about the woman who had the issue of blood for 12 years. Do you understand? So I can imagine that, doing that, having for 12 years, like, think about it just for a moment and just say, God, thank you for healing her. Because I cannot imagine that happening to me as a person. So we'd hear about Elianna. And Elianna first was riddled with a guilt because she was to take care of her brother. And her brother had an allergy of, he has allergic reaction when it comes to bees. And a bee stung him. She didn't even realize that it had happened. He had an allergic reaction. Like today, they'll just give you an EpiPen to stop the reaction, and take you straight to the hospital and sort you out. But Elianna did not even, because she was absent-minded, she did not even realize what had happened to her brother. By the time she got to her brother, found her brother, took her home, it was too late. The brother had died. And you know how Israelites take it very seriously, their first male children. They take, and that was the first male child of Elianna's parents. And so you know how it is. They will blame her for it, and she'll be isolated. Her father almost never forgave her for that. Her father never forgave her for that. Her mother was lost. So Elianna had to begin to take responsibilities in the family, because when that happened, it hit a blow to her father, and her father did not recover from it. So he started being uninterested. He should enter depression, as we call it these days. He stopped being interested in the business. Elianna now took responsibility about the business. And in those days, women cannot work in the places where men should work. It had some discriminatory it was they discriminated against women working, that kind of, so like task for women, task for men. And Elianna had to rise up to the occasion to ensure that her father's business, which was getting wool and weaving like beautiful mats and cloth and things like that, like textile business, let's call it in this our modern days. So she had to take responsibility for that. I know many times her mother would be like, why don't you learn to do this as a woman? Why don't you learn to do this? But she could not, because the person that was supposed to follow in her father's footsteps had died, and she was responsible for it. So that's how Elianna started, helping with her father's business. And before you knew it, her father passed on. And when her father passed on, that's another gist that I'm even going to enter. Her father passed on, and she took sole responsibility for the business, helping her mother, helping her sister. And a time came, her sister had to get married. Elianna did not get married. Elianna was, how this kind of focus kind of person. But Elianna found someone that she fell in love with. And it was her brother, it was her father's friend's son. And he challenged her. He did not despise the fact that she was working like a man's job, even though he was also in that business. So it was like her father's business partner's son, and he also was involved in textile business. But he also traveled to buy things like dye, and all those things that enhanced the particular textile that they were dealing in. And that's how they had the connection. They were betrothed, and they were expected to get married. So there was something that happened one of the days when Elianna was going to Egypt or Corinth. No, I'm not sure. So she was going to get materials, and because she was the only girl in the car, a band of raiders stopped them in their journey. And when they stole from them, they tried to rape her. In the process of doing that, there was a Roman officer, a centurion, that was in charge of all that travel route. He stopped them, and because he stopped them, he now took an interest in Elianna. She was beautiful, she was all of that, and he began to buy things from the father, purchase goods from the father, and sell, and started doing business with the father. And he was just also trying to get close to him. So something happened, and he now began to pick interest in her. But because she was Elianna, she had a very witty mouth. She was able to call his bluffs most of the time. And there was a time where she was betrothed, and he tried to kiss her. And when he tried to kiss her, her betrothed entered. When he entered the place, like he entered the courtyard, and he was threatening her and saying that if she does not succumb to his pressures, that he was going to ensure that her betrothed was going to suffer. And when that happened, her betrothed entered. She kissed him, and when he wanted to attack the Roman, she said no, that she wanted to do it, and that it was her choice. And that what ended the betrothal, the engagement, as it were. And Elianna had to suffer through seeing the love of her life marry somebody else, give birth to children, and she didn't. And after all of that had happened, her dad had died, her younger sister had gotten married, and she was even having issues with her in-laws because she was unmarried, a single unmarried girl at her particular age. And this age we're talking about, though, is like 16 years old, 17 years old kind of age. And those days, I think they used to marry so early. By 14, 15, 16, you should have been married already. So when that happened to Elianna, with all the pressures of work, the competition, all of that, she started bleeding. And she thought that, okay, it will start, it will stop, it will start, it will stop, and all of that. And before you know it, she started bleeding continuously. With that, she lost the business. With that, she couldn't get herself. The person she loved had gotten married to another person. The servant that was her right hand person, she had to sell him off or gift him up to the competition, sell the business and all. And she had to go and start a lowly life from the scratch. One thing I loved about Elianna was her confidence in herself, that regardless of what she went through, she did not look down on herself. She accepted whatever had happened to her in good faith and rode with the times. So it's not like she was living in any form of denial. She was actually living to sort herself out. So she had understood the mistakes she had made. She had understood the price she had to pay for certain things, especially with her engagement. And she was ready to live her life at the minimal best at what she was doing. And during her business transactions, Elianna was kind. And she got to meet a Roman royalty who took her as a friend and became a very good friend to her. Now, certain things about Elianna's life that struck me, that made me, what a woman you can do, and as a woman you can do anything. As a man you can also do anything, but as a woman you can also do anything. When Elianna was growing up, she would rather stay with her father in the weaver's shop than her mother in the kitchen. And those were the things that helped her when she had to take over the business, when her father had lost his way or was not enthusiastic about the business anymore. So I'm telling you, there's nothing you cannot do as a woman, as a girl, as a girl child. As a man, there's nothing you cannot do as well. But I'm speaking to my ladies in the house. What that thing that you're interested, if it's carpentry, do it. If it's upholstery, do it. If it's electrician, do it. Whatever it is that you think you are inclined to doing and you love to do, please go ahead and do it. And that's what helped Elianna, her business acumen, because she learned it from her father. She learned the art of negotiation. She learned the technicalities of the business, how to sort for wool, what sheep to get, what dyes to use, how to import dye. Even when, you remember Lydia, the woman that sold purple in Acts of the Apostles, even when she was a child and she met up with Elianna to get dye, when her father was still selling dye before she grew up to be the woman in purple, all those things help us recognize that you can do anything. You can do anything. You can do anything. And I just want to encourage each and every one of us, that dream, that goal, that desire, please go ahead and do it. Learn about it, study it, be mentored into knowing what you should do and what you should know about it. Now, Elianna started bleeding. See, her life was was at a standstill because there was nothing she could do apart from find a cure to that bleeding until she met Jesus. And in those days, it was just amazing how you hear about a man that is a healer. Just imagine her. She has gone through several healing processes. She has met with several healers. They've told her to do all sorts of things, drink all sorts of concoction. There was even a time somebody told her to go and bury herself in a graveyard for so amount of days. All those kind of things just for her to recognize or to be healed of this thing that is happening to her. Until she heard about Jesus. And you know that how it would be. I've had healers talk about it. They have met so many healers. So you can imagine how skeptical she'll be when somebody tells her, oh, there's a new healer in town. And she'll be like, oh my God, who is this? I've been there, done that. What is new? But she touched the hem of his garment. After listening to testimony after testimony after testimony, you can imagine the stigma she faced. How people should, how in those days in the land of Israel, how when you were that time of the month as a woman, you were considered unclean. Anything you touch was unclean. After this, you have to go through the cleansing process. So you can imagine living in that time and everybody believing that this person is unclean, totally unclean. And so just imagine she was unclean. So she was dubbed like the woman that is unclean. So imagine that even going out was a challenge. because people will not want to stay with her, interact with her. She didn't have friends. She didn't even have a love life. And the person that she had fallen in love with had married somebody else due to her, in quote, infidelity. You know, and at the end of the day, everything came full circle. She touched the hem of Jesus's garment, and it was the first time Jesus called her daughter. See, when I read that part, I got shivers. You know why? Sometimes who we are as a person is being sought in different places. And the first place that we find who we are, especially as women, who we are as daughters, is from our fathers. Elianna suffered that because her father didn't like her or never forgave her because of what happened to her brother. Now we can say that she was careless. Now we can say that she would have paid more attention to her brother, and all the bee sting and everything that happened to him that led to his death wouldn't have happened. But what she faced was total rejection from her father. So the identity of who she was as a daughter was lost to her. She took up the role as a business manager. She took up the role as the finance manager. She took up the role as a tax consultant for her father's business. But she never had the opportunity to enjoy the role of a daughter. And that's one thing she had to teach herself to forgive her father for, because she had to forgive her father for not forgiving her and putting her in a position where she never enjoyed the fact that she was a daughter. So for any of us here that have, in quotes, daddy issues, or look forward to a father figure that will bring us to the point where we are recognized as daughters, I will tell you this: Jesus calls you daughter. Jesus calls you daughter because you are part of his family. You are part of his life. He died for you because he loves you, and he calls you daughter because that is who you are to him. God is our Father, and when we begin to understand the fatherhood of God, we begin to understand our positions as daughters. And as daughters of the Most High, you know, when you are a daughter to someone, there are certain things that accrue to you. You belong to a family. It suggests that you belong to a family. It suggests that there are certain benefits and rights that accrue to you because you are a daughter in that family. It also suggests that you have some form of inheritance. You know, peradventure your father dies. It also suggests that you have someone that is with you, that can vouch for you, that can stand for you, that can protect you, that can defend you, that can do all sorts of things to you because you are his or her daughter. Do you understand? Now, Elianna was robbed of that, and she had to forgive her father. And that's the same thing. I don't know what your situation is. I don't know if your father abandoned you. I don't know if your father did not recognize you as a child. I don't know if your father, does not consider you as someone to be worthy to be called his child, or just talks about you, blames you, and does not accrue the love that you deserve as a daughter. But I want to tell you something. Jesus is your brother and God is your father. Therefore, you are the daughter of the Most High. You have to learn to bask in that first. I know that it is difficult to say, oh, he gave birth to me and he does not regard me, he does not love me, he does not like me. If he doesn't, that means he does not understand the capacity. He does not understand what it is to be a father. But you have someone who is your father, and that person is God. Go back to God. Go back to and say, my Father who is in heaven, my Father who loves me, my Father, Lord, who put the solitary in families, my Father whom all the families of the earth is named. My Father, he is your Father. Run to him as a daughter in need of a father, and he will embrace you in your love, receive you into his household, and give you that which you deserve as a daughter. If you're the daughter, you are joined heirs for Christ, who is your elder brother. Is that not it? Yeah, and that's something Elianna had to understand. And when Jesus called her daughter, he restored back to her everything she lost with her father, back to her. And that was one of the things that caused her to understand the trueness of what a daughter is and what a daughter stands to gain. The love, the joy, the possession, everything it comes to. So go back to God and call him Father, Abba, Father, and he will give to you that which you deserve as his daughter. This book was really, 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 really interesting. And as you know, Elianna got back with the love of her life. Even though he had a child, his wife had died, and God restored her back. Her relationship with her sister, she got the love of her life back. God gave her a daughter instead, because she had lost a lot of blood. She was anemic. You can imagine all sorts of things that happened. God gave her sister to love her. God gave her a maid to take care of her. God is mindful of you. God is mindful of you. And do you know that particular story, when you read it, the Bible says that there were a lot of people that were with Jesus, pushing him. Everybody was trying to get his attention. Heal me, do this, do this. But Jesus stopped and said, who touched me? Wow. God is mindful of you in the midst of all of that. And you can imagine that if she touched the hem of his garment, it was possible she was down low, not where people could see her. She was down low, probably on her knees, probably crawling to just touch Jesus. Probably she couldn't even get a space or a chance, because people wouldn't have even allowed her, the unclean woman. No, don't come near me. Don't come near me. You make me unclean. That kind of thing. So maybe she had to crawl on her knees to touch the hem of his garment. But it also shows Jesus is mindful of you. He says, somebody touched me. What did Peter say? Lord, a lot of people are touching you. Virtue came out of me because somebody needed me and touched me. Where are you touching Jesus? What are you reaching out to him for? And where are you touching him? Jesus is mindful of you. Of you. Reach out to him. Do not shy. When people say that this thing you've done can never be forgiven, reach out to Jesus. This situation can never be resolved, reach out to Jesus. Whatever it is, reach out and touch the hem of his garment. Oh, I hope this journey was as interesting for you as it was for me. I got the book Land of Silence from Sefer Books. Please reach out to them and get your copy. You will thank me after you read this. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. God bless you.